Tom, and you will have an opportunity to ask your questions as well. So now, what are the agenda items that we will be covering uh, through this webinar, right? As I mentioned at the start, we will have this webinar for around 45 minutes to 60 minutes. We will ensure that there is a lot of participation from you. We will have it two ways. We want it to be in such a way that you also ask your questions. You make a note of all of your questions. We'll address all of your questions. You put it here. You can ask your questions, and then you will have an opportunity to get them cleared directly from Tom. So that's something that we wanted to say right off the bat. Now, in terms of what all things we will be covering, of course, we will briefly start with a quick introduction about interview Kickstart and about Tom, post which we will then go into the core, the key question that we will be answering. Why do smart EMs fail FAANG Plus interviews, right? What are the reasons? And what are the lessons that you can learn, you can take away from those reasons? We having looked into so many interviews and so many anecdotes that we have, which is something that we want to share with you based on our experience and based on Tom's experience as well. Uh, After which there is a very interesting demo that we want to do. It's an hands-on. We would want you to volunteer for it. We will have a question, and based on that question and based on your responses, Tom will give you feedback as he gives feedback to all of the successful EM students that he trains, right? So it's an opportunity for you to engage. It is more like a debrief. We will learn from Tom's presentation and the questions that are put across and the answers that are there. Post which we will identify a few frameworks. Specifically, we want to give you two very useful, super effective frameworks which you can take away, which you can apply. And there will be some giveaways as well. So that's something for you to look into. And then towards the end, we will open it up for your question and answer, right? So if you look at who interview picks, what we do, if you trace our journey in the last 10 years, our genesis, our start has been from the fact that we wanted to create something specifically for all those professionals, tech professionals, who were finding it really difficult to have a structured learning pathway in place to help them move to these tier one companies. And that's how we started. That's how our co-founder started this organization. He himself having worked with Microsoft, and from his own experience, we started this. And over the last 10 years or so, we have trained more than 25,000 students now, 25,000 alumni. So it's a huge pool of successful students that we have trained. We currently have more than 18 plus domains. Domains are specific areas on which we train folks. So there is something for each and every tech professional out there. In terms of the typical salary ranges that we have, it's exceptional, and the highest is more than $1 million. We have been recognized as the top 150 tech education institute out there. So that's the very prestigious credibility that we have got based on how we have been able to deliver success. Now, how are we different? The key principle on which we thrive and which we believe is something that is really important is our principle, our belief comes from the fact that cutting edge research and development right now and in the past few years has always been happening in these top tier companies, the FAANG plus companies, as it were, the top 60 to 70 companies. That's the reason we believe that these places are the actual real universities as of now. So when we are looking at these top companies, you have examples of OpenAI doing their own innovation, and you have examples of Google, your Microsoft. So when you are working with actual practitioners from these organizations, from these cutting edge companies, you're able to better understand, you're able to better equip yourself and ensure that you have the latest learning for you to move ahead. So we ensure that we work with actual practitioners from these organizations, and they are the ones who come on board, and they are the ones who have actually created the program, and they are the ones who actually deliver the program. So that's vastly different from how traditionally education used to happen, where it was university professors coming in. So that's a fundamental principle on which we have built our entire learning methodology. So on your screen, you have a few examples of the top class instructors that are associated with us. Now, these instructors, as you can see, also have vast experience. They're able to draw out from their own experiences of having interviewed and having gone through various projects themselves, so they are able to bring their best and give that to you as practitioners. So that's a little bit about a background about ourselves, just for you all who have come new to understand who we are, what we do, and basis that you can understand how we'll be taking this discussion or this webinar forward. So without further delay, I would like to introduce Tom to take this ahead. So Tom is our subject matter expert, as I mentioned. We're really excited that he is able to present this, and I'm very confident, and I'm very excited that he'll give a lot of takeaways for all of you. So Tom, welcome to the program. Welcome to the webinar. Over to you, Tom.
All right, thanks. My name's Tom. I've been in the tech industry for roughly 20 years. I've worked at eBay, PayPal, LinkedIn, as it says right there. There's my history. Right now, I'm a mentor and instructor at Interview Kickstart. Been working for IK for the last 5 years, part-time, and I teach a lot of classes. I do a lot of code reviews and code collaboration exercises with people. We also do behavioral interviews, and I've interviewed a lot of managers and leaders up all the way up to director, people from, say, Apple trying to get into a job at Google. And it's a very enlightening process. And one of the things that really prompted me to join IK was my experience at LinkedIn. When I was at LinkedIn, we saw a very high rejection rate for people. And it was a little frustrating for me because we turned away a lot of really good people. And I wanted to bring those insights to people who are good. I imagine everybody who's come in tonight, you're all good at your jobs. You're all good managers. And but there's a lot of preparation, a lot of expectation in the interview so that you can bring that best part of you forward. All right. I see it's changed. Do you need me to talk to the next slide, Dominic? Okay, we're going backwards. All right, so why do smart engineering managers fail FAANG interviews? I've seen a lot of engineering managers come in and they're a little intimidated by the whole process. They're not sure what to expect. They're not sure what answers people are looking for, and exceptional at their current role, but the experience just doesn't come through, right? It's not clear to the interviewer if that person has the relevant experience, how that person would represent their team and the business in that role. And in some of the questions that we'll be looking at today, we'll be looking at what kind of signals are that people are looking for in that situation. They want to see what are your leadership skills and how did you use them in your work, and we'll talk about how to structure that as well. All right, so next. All right, so 3 reasons why smart EMs fail FAANG interviews. Let's go to the next slide. Click. So when you're talking about a recent project or something that you did, tell me about a significant accomplishment or a significant project that you were a key person in the involvement of. Well, let's just take in. Raise your hand if you think I should focus on the technical aspects of this project. Raise your hand if you think, that's the right approach. All right. Now, all right, we have one. Great. And, I would think that too, because you think you're going into a place like Google and you say, well, Google's very technically focused. So they want to make sure that you know how to talk about the technology. So I'm going to focus on that. How many people feel like they need to do a really detailed upfront explanation of a lead up to the project? Raise your hands. Right? Well, you got more people. Yes. The more detail, the better, right? Well, these are some of the things that can get you in trouble later. And if you start with the deep dive technical, they want to see how you frame the project in the larger context first. They want to see, first of all, can you represent the problem that you're trying to solve with that project? And the problem could be something financial, it could be technical, it could be somebody saying, well, we did a migration, we migrated from this to that. But they're not talking about the business impact, right? They're not saying, here was the problem. Our old technology was taking this much time, right? 2 minutes to get this data. And we needed a way to cut that down by more than half, right? So now we have a beginning metric, we have a problem. Talk about the impact of the problem. We had millions of customers sitting there for 2 minutes waiting for their data. We had our whole system was starting to grind to a halt because there weren't enough machines to handle that length of queries. Whatever was that impact, it's a really good thing to start with. Then you talk about your principles and how you started to solve that problem. Who did you get involved? I wanted to involve all the teams from the different areas. We wanted to evaluate different technologies. We wanted to choose the right technology. And so you want to talk about how you involved people, how were you transparent, whatever those leadership principles that guided you into a strategy for solving the problem. So now we can get into the technical details. So now that we've done all that pre-work, now we say, well, how did you solve it? Oh, well, we chose this technology for these reasons. And now you can get into the details, the technical details. Talk about why you chose that technology and were there any problems when you implemented it? And so you want to get into as much detail as you can in the action part. And it sounds like STAR format, right? Well, it is a variation of STAR: problem, task, action, result. And the result, we come back out of the weeds and we say, oh, okay, we finished the project. And not only did we finish the project, we cut the time down to 100 milliseconds from 2 minutes. It was a 98% improvement, or whatever the metric was that would prove that you were successful. You could talk about how you invented a new technology as a result. You could, try to bring all of that out, give credit where credit's due, but always make sure that your role was represented well. Here's what I did to make this successful. My team did this, but I did this. This is what I did to help things move along. So you can see it's a bit more detailed answer, but you can keep it within the confines of a STAR answer so that the interviewer can feel the full impact of what it was that you did. All right. Next one, key insight number 2, weak leadership signals. This is a very important one for places like LinkedIn. Weak leadership it's a non-starter and for maybe obvious reasons. But how do you get those leadership signals? And there's a variety of ways. When you think of a company like Amazon or Google or even Microsoft, there's a lot of conflict. There's a lot of things that happen that cause problems between peers. And when you have to lead your team through that without giving away too much, right? You have to make sure that your team is doing the right thing and is not being overworked. And you also have to negotiate with your peers. What are the expectations for this problem? For example, a lot of times you have prioritization challenges. that's not my most important project, so you're going to have to put your project on hold. And what they're going to want to do is, what you're going to want to do is show, well, the problem was my peer my peer didn't wouldn't be able to, wasn't able to commit to my priority, right? And now, so what were the leadership principles that that you use to help influence your peer, or helped influence you to change your strategy and your approach, right? You would say, let's think of it this way. I wanted to understand my peers' perspective. I wanted to understand their point of view. And I want them to be able to, I want them to know that I'm listening to them and that I'm considering their perspective for this problem. And what can I do to help them with their problem, right? And so that shows collaboration, transparency, working together. A bad reaction would be, say, escalation to the director. I'm going to tell my boss, and you tell your boss, and they fight it out. That's not good. That's not good leadership. It's good leadership is being able to run the business that you were being given. Yeah, and also good leadership is about coaching and mentoring. You might get questions about how do you mentor your team, or how do you tell me about a time when you mentored somebody on your team to get to the next level of their career, whether that was a manager or a staff engineer. And so I want to hear all of those things that you did as a manager to help make that happen. All right. We also see self-awareness and empathy, and there's a lot of questions. They'll say, tell me about your biggest mistake, or they'll say, tell me about a time when you had to have a really tough conversation with an employee. How did you go about it? And you're going to be wanting to look at feedback models that you use. You want to talk about, well, first of all, I had a low performer, and the team was starting to complain about it. And I wanted to make sure I caught it early. So my leadership principles are catch it early, provide direct and honest feedback as quickly as possible, and then give them a path forward. And so then you talk about how you went about it. You also wanted to do it with empathy, let them know that, hey, I'm on your side. I want you to get better. But if this continues, then, we'll address that later. But you're giving them feedback to help them improve their careers. And hopefully that feedback does help them improve their careers. That's a strong leadership signal. Okay. Next slide. Number 3. Let's see. Well, they don't hire EMs just to manage teams. If you say, well, I have ABC team, and we're responsible for ABC technology, and if that's it, then you're not saying enough. You want to talk about the impact your team has on the business. Sometimes this is your introduction about yourself. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about your current role. And they say, they want to know a little bit about you. And so now you need to show them, how do you, what problem does your team solve for the business, for the customer? Talk about it from a customer perspective. You're going to want to show metrics. My team is responsible for the service that reaches millions of people, requires this number of transactions, requires high level of quality code. And it's important to them because it makes them money, it makes our business money, or it does a public service. And talk about what motivates you. And you should be doing this with a certain amount of drive, with something that shows that you're motivated, that you like what you're doing now. You love your current role. You know how to motivate your team. You know how to recruit people into your team. And so it is, it's essentially understanding your own impact so that you can help your team understand their impact as well. And that you're also retaining a customer focus. So you can see that when you just talk about the technology you're responsible for, it doesn't tie into the bigger picture of how does that impact your customer and why is it important? And so there's a lot of signals there to unpack. All right. Okay. Are we doing a teardown? Are we going to have somebody do the teardown? Okay. All right. Who's brave enough to answer an interview question? It's okay. You're in a safe place. Go ahead and raise your hand and we will unmute you. All right. We have Sagar.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome.
All right. So let's see that first question. All right, here it is. Tell me about a time where you had to choose between releasing a product on time or releasing with high quality.
Okay. Um, yeah, I can talk about a project that's very recent actually. Um, so in this project, we are replatforming our I manage an experimentation platform and we are replatforming the experimentation platform, building it up from the ground up. And we had two internal customers that were wanting to use the first version of this product within 6 weeks' time. However, our product depended on other platform products that were half-baked, and so it took it wasn't possible to actually rely on them to deliver our platform in 6 weeks' time. So that was the problem that we were facing. And so I worked with my staff engineer and my front-end engineer to try to brainstorm possible ways to release the product within 6 weeks. And um, we came up with an approach that doesn't rely on any of those platform dependencies. We basically just push configuration as code into the Git repo, because our initial two customers had very simple use cases that did not require a lot of heavy dependencies, even though our final product does require a lot of dependencies. So we just push configuration through code, and then the configuration makes it to the deployment artifacts through the code, through the build process. And that approach was very easy. We avoided all the dependencies that were blocking us, and we were able to release that solution within 6 weeks so that our initial customers were able to um, have their needs met. And of course, we are continuing to work in parallel um, with actually replatforming it in a way that makes use of all the dependencies and is the final robust solution that is going to actually be in production over the long term.
Okay, great. You said a lot of great things there. You had a lot of good details about the project. You talked about approaching your teams, and this is something every engineering manager has encountered. Your priority is not my priority. And
Yeah.
how did you get around that? And I think you talked about the approach and you talked about how you got your team involved. So those are all good signals that you're giving there. You keep your team uh, involved with the solution. You listen to your team. These are the things that I'm hearing right now. You were able to deliver it on time by eliminating the dependencies. And I think those are all that was a good strategy. And I'm sure you worked with your team to come up with that, and which is awesome. So there's a lot of good things in your story. Now, So what might be missing here, right? And so if we talked when we thought about it earlier, we talked about, well, let's state the problem and how bad it is. We want to know, what is the why? Why was this project necessary? Right? And so let's talk about the problem. What did this problem solve? And the problem metrics. So if I may ask, so what was the problem that this project was solving?
So the experimentation platform is a mission critical tier 0 platform that every service relies on to roll out experiments or feature flags. Without this, there are no rollouts.
Wow.
And so this replatformization is an entire rebuild of the stack from the bottom up across the entire tech stack, not just my product. And so the entire engineering org is replatforming. And so they are building a new set of services that need to be rolled out as at least an initial MVP. And those rollouts require my platform to work.
Okay.
So if,
And
oh, sorry, go
I'll
ahead.
stop you right there and say, wow, right? I'm sitting here listening to this going, wow, okay. So now, first of all, we have the potential to impact an entire engineering organization with the rollout of this platform, which needs to roll out in 6 weeks. But you have a risk. Your risk is that you need other dependencies to roll it out with you, but you don't necessarily have their time committed to do it. And so how did you mitigate that risk? You looked into different options and you decided that how you put it to your team, how can we do this without uh, relying on other teams to do this? And you were able to figure out a way, and you saved an entire engineering organization time that they might have spent helping you implement it. And the question isn't, well, the question here was also, when did you have to choose between releasing it on time and releasing with high quality? I also did not hear that part of it, right? Because sometimes we're under
Yeah.
a strict deadline, right? And we have to choose between a milestone and whether the customer will be impacted. And so if you released on time, I might get the idea that you released with low quality, but
Yeah.
that might
So
not be the case.
yeah, so we like as I said, the foundations beneath us were constantly shifting, and so we had an initial MVP that relied on those foundations, but it was never stable. And so
Mm,
could have released that in 6 weeks by trying to make it as stable as we could during that time, but we are always limited by the dependencies we have on the other platforms, and we can't really control whether they are going to be stable.
right.
Yeah, this was the only approach we could come up with, that released it with
Yeah.
on time, high quality, that's reliable and dependable, and doesn't have us fighting fires all the time.
Yeah. Well, you had to do both. And you may have another project where, and I think all of us do at some point, where we have an impossible situation where we have to figure out, well, if we don't deliver on time, what's the impact to our customers? If we do deliver on time, uh, but how will the experience be bad for our customers, right? And so what I'm looking for signals is your approach to risk assessment, risk mitigation, the impact to your customer, setting up a communication plan of how are you going to tell your stakeholders that this is happening, delivering bad news to stakeholders, getting your team on board with whatever is the company priority, because the company priority might say, if we don't deliver this on time, we're going to lose millions of dollars. I want to hear about how you owned the problem and how you managed that tech debt, that if you released it on time and you incurred a little pile of technical debt along the way, how did you manage that going forward? Did you set aside time for it? Did you prioritize differently? And how do you make sure that you're able to maintain the sustainability of your product? And so there's a lot to unpack there. And I think having that kind of a problem, I think it's a not a bad example, but you can also talk about these other things: risk assessment, risk mitigation. The mitigation was we figured a way to do it without having dependencies. We were always worried about the impact to the customer. And part of that was also delivering it to the developers. So there you go. So you can see that you can get a lot of signals from that kind of a question. And I, find one where you really literally had to choose between one or the other. But it wasn't, it's not always milestone. Milestone doesn't always win, and neither does quality. And I want to understand your process as a manager of how do you go about doing that and who do you involve? And that shows more strategy, right? That's more strategic. You didn't go into a room by yourself and figure it out. You talked to people and you came up with a plan and you communicated that plan. And it might have been bad news for some people. And I want to hear about that as well. So you can see there are a lot of signals that we can get from just that one question.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Sagar. That was very helpful.
Thank you, Tom.
All right. All right. We're doing another one. Oh, this is a tough one. Who's
is it somebody else this time?
someone else? You will get this question in some form. All right. Who would like to volunteer for this question? Raise your hand. It's tough. Maybe I'll have Dominic do it. Upward feedback always hurts, doesn't it? It's like, and sometimes it just comes out of the blue and you're like, I'm not doing that, am I? How you respond to this one is actually very critical. Anyone? Dominic? Can you answer this one?
Yeah, I can take it, Tom. So
Great.
we all, as you mentioned, right, we all have got this. And as you rightly mentioned, it's not something that we expect, and you don't take it positively when you first hear it. So I'll tell about an instance where in one of my previous organizations we were doing this project which lasted for more than a year. It took around 13 months for us to start and then deliver. So here was this opportunity, or here was the end of the project feedback that was taken from both my management as well as by the client, right? So, and it was from the entire team. And then because the client was working very closely with us, it also involved sharing feedback for how the team was managed, right? And that is the time when I got this feedback from a couple of individuals. Of course, it was anonymous, and the feedback was that the project was, or the project manager, in this case me, I was continuously pushing them forward to achieve the goal, and giving a indication. It was not outrightly mentioned, giving an indication that I was not very keen on delivering a quality product, right? So that was how the feedback came out, and because it also went to the client, I was not very pleased with it, because it had the potential to give a very wrong impression of what we did in the last 13 months. So that's one thing that I can think of.
All right. That is a tough question to answer because it hurts when you talk about it. And you take it personally.
Yeah.
And if it still hurts, then I'm going to maybe say that maybe you haven't done enough yet about it. I'm going to give you some hard feedback here.
Yeah, sure.
So what is this? So, but the things that you represented was, well, I just got this signal back, and it went to the customers, and it embarrassed me a little bit because I didn't want the customer to think that we were low performers. But it doesn't acknowledge the feedback, right? And the first thing is, well, what did I do? The first thing you need to ask yourself in the situation was, why do people have that idea that I didn't want quality? And so reflection, self-awareness. Maybe I was pushing too hard with the deadline. Maybe I had a lot of pressure, and maybe I should have pushed back. It's my problem because that feedback was directed at me. And I need to reflect on the actions I took. Did I admonish my team and say, how dare you say this? Or did I go in there and say, thank you for your feedback. I didn't realize I was doing this. This is something that I need to work on, and I had no idea I was doing it. And I thank you for feedback. Feedback is a gift to help me be a better leader. And you want to talk about you want to avoid defensive behavior. You don't want to say, well, my boss was yelling at me, and his boss was yelling at him, and it all came down crashing on my head, and so I just had to go with the flow. And it's not me, or you didn't interpret it properly. Those are all red flags for an interviewer. You want people to say, not only did they acknowledge the feedback, that, well, what am I doing so that it doesn't happen again? Right? Next steps, personal development. Maybe I need training about communication during stressful times with my team. Maybe I needed to share more of the common goals. Maybe I needed to hire contractors to come in and help fill the gap rather than expecting my team to do all of it. Maybe I wasn't listening well enough and I need to elicit more feedback from my team. What were those things that you were doing that changed your behavior for the better? And what is the result of that? So how did you gain your team's trust again? And that is how you would come out of that relatively unscathed. Great. And thank you for sharing that.
Thanks for that. Good insights. Yes.
Yeah, and this is the kind of interaction that I have with people that I'm mentoring, people that I'm doing behavioral interviews with. And it's a very common answer to it. And we don't think about, well, what am I doing differently? Right? That's the key part of it. I've seen people get really defensive. It's like, these crazy people, no, you can't do that. It's not them. They're not in the room. You are. All right. Thank you, Dominic. That was very, very helpful. It's a hard one.
Yeah.
But you will get these types of problems in the interview. All right. Do we have time for a third, or what's our time like, Dominic?
Yeah, I think we can present the third question for our attendees, right? So that's something that they can think about, but then we can move ahead, just keeping a watch on the time as well.
Okay. All right. Well, this last one is also a very common one, and it has a lot of signals. Now, we talked about signals. Think about what kind of signals that this is projecting that you can answer. So is anybody interested in trying this one out? Raise your hand. All right. Revati. There you are.
Yes, Revati, you can speak.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Thanks, Tom, for doing this. Let me take this question.
Great.
Yeah. So I work on a product where we do the marketing platform for all the dealerships. So there was a new product owner who joined the team. Since she was from the sales side, which I did not know, I expected them to have prior experience working on products and being a product owner. And I did not have insight into that aspect of it. 6 months down the line, I saw that still the priorities were not being defined properly in grooming meetings, and finally release and delivery, from the release and delivery and impact perspectives. So I have regular one-on-ones with her, but I did not have this insight that she was from the sales side. However, what I did was just to confirm if what I'm thinking is right, I went ahead and had some one-on-one meetings with the accounts team who directly interact with the clients to understand if I'm in line with what I'm thinking from the priorities perspective, and they align with what the customers are expecting and what the accounts team is seeing. Post that, I realized that we were in alignment, but that was not flowing through to the team properly. That was because of lack of experience on the product owner side. I had some couple of meetings with her, tried to give all the possible documentation, all the possible help that was needed, and asked her to give her a thought process as to what might be the constraints, or why does she think something is more important than this, having an open discussion basically. And then I realized that from that discussion, I realized that she was from the sales side, and that's what was. And then secondly, the other thing that I realized was she did not have enough knowledge of the product as such. What I did was I specifically set aside some time on my team from the QA side and from the team lead side, so that they can give her the needed training. And also I offered my help to be on the meetings that she has with the accounts team, so that all of us are on the same page and we are looking at the various aspects, like what is the customer impact, what is the revenue impact, what is the timeline impact, and what is the company priority impact, and those kind of aspects. And then not only that, I spoke to her, I had a one-on-one with her. I have skip level meeting with her manager as well. And I gave her the situation, and I said if there is anything that she could do to help her out in this situation, any training that they could provide her would really help. So that actually started making the process much more smoother over time. And I think it took close to 3 to 4 months of turnaround time, but and now it's much more smoother. Yeah.
Excellent.
So, yeah, that
That
was
was a great
experience.
answer, by the way. That would pass muster for an interview. So in case you were wondering, you hit a lot of the leadership qualities, the signals that we would look for in this kind of a situation. First one being transparency. You went directly to the person and said, "Hey, how can we get aligned on the customer's needs?" You were honest with that person. You were able to ask them their perspective so that you could understand where they were coming from, and you learned new things that you didn't know before, which changed your perspective, which was great. That is a key moment. You collaborated with that person really well. You're building trust. You're building trust with somebody who may not understand your world very well. And so what a lot of times when you have people from sales or from product, sometimes they don't know what you do. And so there's a lot of suspicion, but if you keep it under wraps and you say, "Don't worry about it, we'll figure it out." But when you're upfront with them and you're involving them in the process, you're starting to build that trust, and it ends up smoothing things out, not just for that one thing, but it also smooths out future projects. And it also, that person's going to trust you and right up front.
Yeah, absolutely. It has become much better post that. And yeah, it has been much better experience for the team, all angles on the account side. and
Yeah.
for myself and for her too, I guess. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not bad to ask for help for yourself,
Yeah.
or to ask for help and say, hey, we need help from you to help make this go smoother.
Yeah,
It's okay to say we need help.
Yeah,
Right? That's the
absolutely.
only it's the only thing I might change, but it's say, because we're a team, right?
Yeah,
This
at the end
person,
of the day, yeah, it's all about
exactly.
team. And yeah.
Sales is such an important part of business. It's a lot of times there's a disconnect between development teams and sales teams, and they both need each other very, very much. They're both critical functions. Sales is bringing in your paycheck,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And
Enrolling new folks, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
and you're
absolutely.
providing product for them to sell,
Yeah,
and
that's right.
it's a good it should be a good relationship, and I think you've shown how you do that and how you develop that, and I think that was a good story. So good job.
Thank you.
All right, and I also detected a little nervousness. So one of the things,
Yes.
right, because it's in front of a lot of people, you don't know who's on. I'm from LinkedIn, I'm some big wig, right? And well, when you come into interview Kickstart, you're going to meet a lot of people like me, people who are way better than me. And you're going to get comfortable around people from big companies, and you also want to show that in the interview as well, and say, I'm pretty comfortable. I feel like I'm in the right place. I've talked to people just like you when I was prepping.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I
that
think
stress goes
that's a
down.
vital feedback. Yeah, I totally see what you are saying. I think initially I started out being really nervous and later on focused on it. And then it
Yeah.
became a little bit better, but still I could do better. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's just going to take a little time and practice. And that's exactly what IK will do, is to give you the opportunities to speak out. In fact, when I run my classes, everybody in the class has the opportunity to speak and participate, and to give me the perspectives and how they think they should do things. I teach trees and graphs primarily, and it's a big collaboration session on how to solve some of these problems, and you get practice explaining why you think things are a certain way, because they're gonna want to know, why did you do it this way? What were you thinking? And so it's a good opportunity to practice that, and I think that's one of the other key elements for IK.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you, Revati.
Thanks, Tom.
All right.
Thanks, Revati. Thanks, Tom, really, for those useful insights. Thank you for all of the volunteers as well. So we really appreciate that. Good. So now we move ahead, right? So now, as Tom mentioned, we as an organization also have a very good view of what happens in the industry, in the market. So we focus a lot and we work with these top companies, and hence we know what is the hiring status, what are the challenges currently in the in the FAANG plus hiring market, the scenario and everything, and that's some insight that we also wanted to share with you, and that's something that we believe will really help you all. So if you look at today's hiring landscape, now this is based on the recent data, the most recent data, including our own research and including feedback that we directly get from these top companies, recruiters, right? So they work with us. They are the ones who are taking our programs. They're the ones who are delivering. So when you get feedback from them, okay, this is the scenario. These are the skills that are in demand, and these are the skills which are not so much in demand right now, and hence instead of that, you need to focus on these. So based on that, here are a few insights, right, that we wanted to share with you. The first insight is, you look at the overall job market and you hear a lot of these news coming in. You hear a lot of chatter and you hear a lot of noise also at the same time. But the fact is, there has been a very steady growth of roles and requirements in these top companies. But we also see a trend where a lot of focus is on skills related to AI and ML And that's not surprising because that's the direction in which the entire industry is moving right now. But the nature of these is something that you can take a note of, right? We also are able to see that, quarter on quarter, as you can see in the graph, the number of open vacancies are going up. They are not something which are majorly advertised, but a point to take note of here is that recruiters, instead of reaching out to candidates as they were doing in the pre-pandemic situation, here the situation is a little different, where you need to reach out to them. So please do that. And at the same time, you need to have a very good network of individuals who can refer you to these organizations. So one insight that we wanted to share with you is, after this webinar, try to ensure that you expand your network. If you are targeting, say, a role at Google, try to identify folks who could refer you. Try to have peers in your network who could put a word in for you. So that's something which is really working in terms of getting that first interview call, and after which you can prepare for your interviews. So that's something to bear in mind. We also did a lot of research on the available job description. So that's something that you can also do. Here are a few examples that we have shared on the screen, right? So you look at these different job roles, and more. In fact, the most recent analysis that we did is around 25% of the job descriptions that we analyzed. We did that analysis for thousands of job descriptions. We saw that more and more JDs now require an awareness of things related to AI, right? You having done something related to that, you having some know-how related to that. So that's also an insight which we thought we should share with you. Now, basis our experience, we have been able to clearly see that candidates sometimes do fail these interviews because there is a lack of structured preparation when it comes to how they themselves are going about preparing, right? So you talk about not learning it from a direct practitioner, not able to get that kind of feedback that will really help, like how Tom mentioned right now. Not just the feedback on actionable insights also, that's something which will really help. And that's something that we are seeing when candidates come to us who have failed in the past interviews of the arts. That's a common feedback that we get, right? So I took some self-paced program, but I was not able to get that kind of feedback. And that's something which we also wanted to put across to you. So if you are preparing, ensure that you learn it from a practitioner. At the same time, get that kind of quality feedback from them in the way of a mock interview. You need to rehearse so that you are able to have that confidence when you go for these interviews. So now that's where we help, right? We know what's out in the market. We know what are the pitfalls. We know what are the challenges, and based on that, as I mentioned at the start, we have our top instructors who themselves are practitioners. So they are the ones who come in, and they are the ones who have created the program. They know what works. They know the interview process, and basis the interview process, they are the ones who are actually delivering it live. So that's the fundamental principle, a very effective principle on which we have built all of our programs. And when they are able to deliver it live, they have structured it in such a way that, because they are also full-time working professionals in their own organizations, and the students are also so, the weekly study rigor is designed around that. So a typical week starts on a Thursday for you. You have a few self-paced videos that are shared, more of a pre-learning for you. Once you have done, you go through those foundational material. Then you have your live class, which happens on a Sunday, right? According to the time zone. So it's a 4-hour live class, which is on a Sunday. You walk away from that live class with a lot of practice and a lot of active discussions that you do. Once you have had that live class with a subject matter expert, with a practitioner, you are then expected to practice on it on a Monday, Tuesday, and a Wednesday. You have our platform where you will be doing this practice. And at the same time, you will be ensuring that whatever you have learned in the class, you would be applying it. Based on the practice that you do, the mid of the week, the Thursday of that same week, you will have a live discussion again, kind of a debrief on the projects that you have done, on the hands-on that you have done in the live class, right? So that's where your instructor comes, your practitioner, your SME comes, and he or she is able to give you all of the insights based on what you have submitted, based on what your peers have submitted. And that kind of active discussion will help you replicate and mimic an actual interview pressure situation. And then post which you have your unlimited one-on-one coaching sessions, right? From your Thursday until Sunday again. We open up the calendar to all of our subject matter experts. You can come in, you can ask all the type of questions you need, and that's how you can prepare. Overall, this weekly rigor takes around 10 to 12 hours of your time. And we have seen that we in the past, when we trained all of our 25,000 plus alumni, we were able to clearly observe that this kind of weekly rigor is a nice balance between their own full-time work and they being able to up level and upskill themselves. So that's something for you to also just bear in mind. Along with this, we have our mock interviews, right? Now, these mock interviews, each of our mock programs has around 15 mock interviews. Each mock interview is for 60 minutes. And each of the mock interviews, post which you will have detailed written feedback. And you will also have the recorded feedback given to you so that you're able to identify the areas of your improvement and then work accordingly. That gives a very safe space for you to practice, like how Tom just demonstrated in our discussion. We have pathways for individual roles as well as management positions. And these essential pathways, the programs that you can see on your screen are all created with a very specific agenda, and the objective is to help you clear that particular role or that company that you are targeting. And just bear in mind that it is customized, it is personalized to your own journey. We have ensured that we cover all the essentials that are being asked in the interviews, and we have done that by working backwards from our own set of interviews that folks ask, and basis that we have created the curriculum, as you can see on the screen, right? So we have broken it down basis how the interview process actually happens. So to help you all, we have these 4 offerings, right? We have the move up, then we have edge up, level up, and step up. Now, what are the differences? With move up, and all of our programs are under 3 months, because that's the sweet spot for interview prep, because you want to ensure that you are prepped up very early, but in an effective and in a credible manner. So you have move up, which has AI preparation for you. You choose any of your custom interview prep path, like how we just showed in the previous screen, and then you double that up with your AI project, which will ensure that you are up and ready for ensuring that you are able to give a best account of yourself. Then you have edge up, which also which is a little longer in duration. It has your own custom domain interview prep. It has an AI project, and it also has Gen AI covered in depth. Then you have the level up, which is just your custom domain interview prep, and then you have the step up, which is the recorded version, something which some folks, if they want to do it very early or quickly, they can do that. Level up on all of the programs are delivered live. So this is a comparison that you can just keep in mind. All of the programs that we have ensures that you have personalized projects. Here are a few examples of the projects that we have. Something that we ensure that it comes across to you when you are going through your program. We know and we have trained the thousands of individuals in the past. Here are a few examples of how people have transitioned. They have got excellent offers. They were unsuccessful in the past, and because of the support that we gave, they have been successful. Something that you can also do. We have been able to deliver very good value in terms of the return on the investment, on return on education investment that they do. Here is the typical average, the highest compensation, and the typical difference that we are able to effect because of the fact that we are giving them very structured learning. And that's something that you also can keep in mind, right? So at this point, we want to present to you, if you are able to, or if you are very keen for to ensure that you want to move ahead and crack that position in your desired company, this is how you can get started, right? We have these 4 programs: move up, edge up, level up, and step up. Here are the price points. We have various financing available. We have placement assistance. Each of the program is a money back guarantee. So if you don't succeed, we guarantee you your money back. Then there are scholarships also available for selected programs. So we have our team of program advisors. We have our experts who would be very happy to help you. We are also very happy to let you share your latest resume with us. Our career support team, working along with the actual recruiters from these companies can give you feedback on areas that you need to improve, or things that you need to change in your resume so that you're able to get more job interview calls. And so that's something that we are very happy to do. At this point, we will just run a poll. We have a very important feature also towards the end presented by Tom, where he will be giving you those two frameworks. But at this time, when we run this poll, you can just share your, you can address that question. And if you want more information, then we would be happy to reach out to you. We will help you understand the differences. We will help you understand your resume prep, what you need to do and how you can prepare for this. So that's something that we will be very happy to help, right? So here is a poll in front of you. Just take a few seconds to answer it so that it helps us give more support and more direction to you. Great. Awesome. More and more folks coming in. So, as you can also see on your screen, the kind of impact that we have been able to do in the past 10 years. We are really passionate with what we do. We have programs coming in every month, and experts like Tom are the ones who actually present, and they are the ones who have actually created the curriculum and they present it. They are the ones who teach, and from their own experience, you can benefit a lot, right? So that's something for all of you to just keep in mind. Awesome, great. So we will just have a few seconds more. So we see more and more folks taking the poll. Great. Awesome. So we'll go to the final question now, and the final question is those two frameworks, right? Tom, over to you again.
All right. Thanks, Dominic. So we're talking about a playbook, and when we're looking for when we're looking at a framework, we're trying to understand what is the intent behind the interviewer, and what are the kind of experiences that you can share that is going to touch upon the leadership skills and the leadership principles that you adhere to. What they're trying to do is they're trying to understand, how do you make decisions? How do you make good decisions? How do you involve people? And the framework is more how do we reflect our skills that we have? And everyone here is a manager, a successful manager, and you have skills that need to come out in the interview context. There are no keywords you can say to trick them into hiring. They want to hear about you and how you make decisions, and the more information you can give them around that process makes them feel more confident that you are the right fit for the role. So when we're talking about a framework, it's not too far off from the STAR framework. We did a little bit of it earlier. We're stating problems. Why was it a problem? How bad was the problem? There we go. Super effective framework number 1, right? And it's similar. I change it a little bit for managers, because managers have to be very concise, very deliberate, and very focused with not just what the situation was, but why was it a problem and how bad was it, and use metrics as much as you can. You want to show results. You want to show, I drive results. Here's a result that I drove. Task is going to be more about what principles guided you into making those decisions, and how did they help form your strategy. They could be business decisions, business principles. They could be coding principles. It could be, we wanted to use a solid framework. We wanted to use solid principles for designing this code, because the legacy code was spaghetti code, right? And you can talk about it from a technical standpoint as well. But what were some of the principles? I wanted to build trust with my peer. I wanted to be transparent with my team so that they trusted me. I actively listened to what my business partner was telling me. I wanted to make sure that the customer was being represented properly. And these are important principles because, and then you want to talk about the why. Why did you use those principles? Trust building not only helps you now, it helps you in the future. Taking care of your customers now helps them remain customers in the future. They'll see that you're not only do you have loyal customers, they see that you are loyal to them. And those are the types of whys, which are very important, because that tells somebody how you would explain it to someone else. And then you go into the details. How did you go about it? And then, well, to build trust. So if you said, I wanted to build trust, the action should also include how you built that trust. If you say it and say, I wanted to do these things, collaborate, build trust, be transparent, talk about the things you did that demonstrated that principle. And so you're essentially setting yourself up to describe the action that you took based on the principles that you just stated. And so there's a continuity there between what you're saying and what you're doing. And then when you talk about the result, metrics, we're managers. We live and breathe metrics. This is how we communicate upward. This is how we communicate to the stakeholders. How impactful is our work? And showing that you can represent your team in a good light and show your team that you are making a positive impact to your customers helps keep your team motivated, and it helps keep leadership confident in your abilities to continue that trend. And we talked about conflict today, and we talked about how it impacted the relationship going forward. That's a great result, because sometimes you don't always have metrics, but you talk about how it sets you up for success in the future. If you talk about a mistake that you made, they'll say, tell me about a mistake. The important part is, what did you do to avoid that mistake in the future? You can talk about the mistake. You can be embarrassed about it. I have plenty of examples from my career, more than one. I'll just say that. But what do I do? What do I do to avoid that? And how do I teach others not to make the same mistakes? And right now I'm doing it. This is why I'm here. And if I was working for an organization, these would be the kinds of conversations I would be having. So there you go. Situation, task, action, result. But think of it as problem, principles, action, and result for managers. Okay. All right. Do you want me to cover this? Amazon leadership in action.
Yeah, just a question for our attendees, right? Something that they can just keep in front of them. Something very recently asked and shared. So they can use this as a kind of a homework. Everyone, this is what Tom mentioned. The principles you can apply here, and you can practice yourself on this. We would be happy also to take your responses, so you can share this with us. We'll give you all of our details. We'll send an email after this, so you'll have mine as well as Tom's detail. If you want to share something, please do. You can even record this and give it to us. We'll be happy to give you feedback, right? So that way you are able to continue to get value from this discussion. So Tom, we have our second effective framework. We can quickly cover that, and we can go to the Q&A then. Right, so here is something which is another suggestion that we had. Try to build this as a story bank, right, before the actual interview, because as human beings, we don't tend to quickly remember things which when we are suddenly asked, when we are put on a spot in a pressure interview kind of a situation. So try to ensure that you develop these kind of story banks according to the various themes that we just saw. This will help you to take the most relevant examples, break it down, and you know that you would be prepared. So that's a very effective suggestion that we have got as a feedback from our own SMEs and from the alumni who have successfully cracked these interviews. So they gave this as a suggestion and a feedback that this is something which really helped them. So we wanted to ensure that we share that also with you, right? And at the same time, there is one question that often comes: how can you move to a EM position, right? From if you are an individual contributor. That's something also that we would be happy to help you answer. We'll